Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I don't have my usual mic with me here at this location. I still want to talk about something, so I'm going to share a video here. Even though the audio may not be the greatest, but hopefully the content's good enough for you to want to, listen in and pay attention if you like. I want to talk about ARK Fund. And this is something that we've been talking about for a while. I've been mentioning with the great Matsby here for quite some time. And we both look at ARK and we're like, man, this thing is just going to keep going up. And that was a few months ago, actually more like half a year ago, right? Whenever you have price kind of going back test a rising 20-month moving average, if there's a lot of positive setup here, right? Including the Ichimoku bullish cross over here, reclaiming the Tenkin. Looks like it just kind of want to go up, right? Everything has just been making higher highs and higher lows here, and it just looks like it wants to just kind of keep going up. We're not saying that it's necessarily going to hit all-time high anytime soon, but it doesn't have to for people to make a lot of money from the individual stocks that are underlaying the ARK fund, right? If you just look at the overall trend here, yes, it is getting a little bit closer resistance up here at 0.5, but there's still maybe a little bit more room to go up here, and once it gets there, it's going to be a battle zone there. We'll see how it reacts. Maybe it's going to have a little bit of problem there, who knows, but just look at how nice a Bollinger Band here is expanding on a monthly. Upper Bollinger Band up, lower Bollinger Band down, 20 is very nicely crawling up. So there is really no concern that this is a bull trend. The only question is how it would react whenever it gets to 0.5 up here on $68.56. So right now it reclaimed the 0.382. Once it get rejected, it could potentially backtest, but I would argue that it already backtested 0.382, so it doesn't necessarily have to do that. I'm very interested in see how it reacts here whenever it gets there. So, but yeah, I'm not concerned about the trend overall. I still think it's a very, very bullish trend, even though you might have some volatility that are coming up soon, maybe sometime in like late Q1 or early Q2 of 2025. Let's look and see what the underlying thing that ARK Fund has, and look no further than the top 10 exposure for ARK Fund, right? They are still overweight Tesla, and I'm going to show all these charts here. Overweight Tesla, overweight Roku, right? Somebody asked me about Roku, so I'm going to chart it. Coinbase is one of my positions. I have a lot of these positions, right? I have Tesla, I have Coinbase, I have Palantir. I don't have Roblox, I don't have Roku, I have Robinhood, I have Shopify. So I have basically like 5 out of 10 of their major holdings, right? But we'll talk about them. I think all of them are actually been pretty decent. I kind of went some time and talk about Tesla as a part of my Magnificent 7 talk, so I'm not going to go through too much of it. I still think that if you're looking at the trend of Tesla, and I'm just going to spend no more than a minute on it, it could come back and backtest 0.76, and that's an entirely normal thing for bull markets to do. After it got rejected here in previous all-time high with trees or top over here, it could come back to that. Could it go down lower? Possible, but I find it to be less likely. I just see a lot of confluent zone here. You look at 2-week Ichimoku, the tank is right there around 350. If you're looking at the broad support band on the weekly chart here, is right around 350, right? So I think that there's going to be some pretty decent support there when price gets there. I also think that the downtrend over the last 8 weeks has been on pretty low volume here. So I don't think it has to go that much further than 350. I don't even think it has to necessarily go to 350, but if it goes there, I think it's going to be a pretty decent risk-reward ratio there. That's all I'm going to say about Tesla. If you're interested in like higher time frame stuff, I can talk a lot. I can spend like an hour talking about Tesla. I'm not going to do that to you. But overall, upper Bollinger Band going up, lower Bollinger Band going down, 20-month range going up. It's decelerating here a little bit. It's consolidating here a little bit for February, so we'll see how it goes. But so far, I don't really have much concern because this is still two inside candles to this big giant green candle over here. So I think it's just going to be consolidating sideways over here. Inside candle just means consolidation. That means it's probably going to resume, primary trend where it's done consolidating. So that's all I have to say about Tesla. Roku. Let's look at Roku. If I just turn off the GAN here, if I just look at Roku by itself, does this chart look bearish to you? No, it doesn't. It looks like it wants to grab it up here to the upper Bollinger Band here to $100. That's what it looks like it wants to do. Right, upper Bollinger Band is continuing expanding. Low Bollinger Band is still kind of contracting here a little bit, but it's no big deal. 20 moving average is growing up, and it's flipped from resistance over to support. It was negative sloping here, and now it's positively sloping, right? So you're going to end up having 20 moving average, which is currently around $73. That's going to be pretty decent support. Shall it need it? It doesn't have to. Now, you see a lot of rejections over here, so I'm going to turn off the Bollinger Band here. I'm going to turn on the Gann chart here. First of all, let's see. I haven't really touched this Gann here for quite some time. I think I did this probably on the monthly then. 360 and 10 shows some pretty remarkable market symmetry here. You wonder why you have all these wicks there above. Well, you did end up breaking above this bear market trend line, if you will, bounce, and now you're bouncing up, right? That's good, right? Well, the problem is you have declining volume that's happening here. So what do I think would happen? I think there's a possibility where you have to come back down and backtest maybe $72, $73 because we're getting closer to resistance zone here, right? The other thing to also pay attention to is if I do some fib level here, and if I do a log scale fib, you can also, well, actually it's not really anywhere near any of the fib levels here. I think the most resistance is going to be at the Gann, but I still think that there is a potential for it to hit the 0.382 before it get any major resistance, but it is going up against the Gann here, is kind of showing down a little bit of a decreased volume here. So don't be surprised if it getting rejected again and coming back down to 73 to $70, which is 0.382. Sorry, 0.236 here. And find some additional support before going up there. But I do think that these other strong resistance zone, in addition to the current zone right now, strong resistance zone is going to be 0.32, which is going to be closer to $100. That's where I think it is. It's getting a little bit weak in terms of the bull trend here, and it's also hitting some resistance zone here. So be careful. If I'm wrong, if it ends up just shooting up here, then I'm sorry. You miss opportunity because you listened to a cat. But I would say, if you want to get in, you can, but just understand that you have some downside risk here, potentially around anywhere from $70 to $73. The upside risk that you've been missing out, I think, would be to $100 to $101, somewhere around there, which I think is going to be some, pretty significant resistance zone, right? It can come back all the way down to 72, 73. You can see Kitchen's also down here. So you come back and back test the Kitchen, maybe a little bit lower, right? It could wick down to like 68 or something like that before going out for bullish continuation. It's just kind of stuck in the middle. It is right again, resistance here. So I don't know whether or not you should enter in or not. All I know is that the trend is bullish. It could come back and back to its form a higher low before further bullish continuation, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Number 3 is Coinbase. Coinbase is something that I feel extremely bullish on. I think that it's found a very, very strong support zone here around 250, both in terms of broad support band. The Gann arc over here is about the 0.786. I think it's ready to get bouncing whenever it wants to bounce here. Just 3 weeks of just going sideways consolidation. The volume is not great. I think all it needs just a little bit of volume and can just kind of shoot way up here. Sometime in 2025, I still think that there is a very, very interesting thing where you have the altcoin crash that happened last weekend, and Coinbase barely budged, right? If you have altcoin crash, you would imagine if Coinbase is one of those stock that's going to be a proxy for all this, then you imagine that it should crash. But no, it's not doing that at all. It's holding very, very well because it already had a little bit of preemptive crash already, right? It's found a lot of great support, even if you take away all these indicators. You can see that it's basically got a big bullish engulfing candle. You have 3 candles here that's not even able to break down halfway of this bullish engulfing candle. So whenever it's done with shenanigans, it's going to keep going up. If you ask me what the targets are, I show you Roku. Roku targets like $100, $101. This one, I think it needs to challenge its previous all-time high at 430. I think it's got good odds to do that because it bounced from the 0.786. Usually when it happens, that means that usually some all-time high stuff is going to happen. So I think that some of these higher targets here, I'm not going to name them because they sound crazy right now, but I think some of these higher targets right here could be hit. And I am still, holding. I bought a share of Coinbase today, just for the heck of it, just for symbolic reasons, I guess. I don't know. But I bought a share today, right? Still pretty bullish on it. Palantir, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I already talked about it on the other video. But it's just breaking these fit levels like it's butter. I don't know what else to say. Like Bollinger Band is continuing to expand, and it's just going to do whatever. It's just going to do whatever it wants to do. But I'm not seeing any warning sign on a higher time frame. Lower time frame can go plus or minus 20%, no problem. Would it affect a higher time frame? No, it wouldn't. I just would not be bearish on something that just keeps on having a little Bollinger Band and just keeps on expanding like that. I'm not going to get in the way of this crazy train, right? That's what I'm going to say. Roblox, RBLX, bullish. Why did it have to come back and well, there are two reasons. One is because it was hitting 0.618. It's a hard level to get through, right? Right now, it's trying to get through. It's still underneath it a little bit here. But second thing, why did it have to stall here? Because the Bollinger Band simply hasn't expanded enough for price to go up higher. It needs to come back and at least wick and touch it. That's exactly what it's doing. Upper Bollinger Band going up, lower Bollinger Band going down. It's a very, very impulsive bull trend. I think it has enough energy after it's done with shenanigans to hit the 0.786, which is going to be $94.74. There's no reason for me to think that the trend's stopping anytime soon. I'm also not going to see any bearish divergence here on the monthly. On a lower time frame, it can do shenanigans where it can go plus or minus 10, 20, 30%, and it would not necessarily affect this trend here. This is a log scale. It's very, very impulsive. So I'm going to, basically that's all I'm going to say about that. Robinhood, I talk about all the time. It's also been surprising me because honestly, I thought that it was just going to get resistance here, but no, it's just decided to just pull up a Bollinger Band, low Bollinger Band, up and down. It's still a very impulsive trend. This is one of those trains that I was already started running. No reason for me to get in the way. There's just absolutely no reason to get me in the way. I initially thought it was going to get rejected here. It was 0.786 over here, around $50. I knew that I was going to get to $50 because it bounced off the arc here, right? But I didn't know that it was just going to slice up through the GAN horizontal at 0.786 like butter. It looks like it wants to go to 0.86 and maybe to the arc up here, around the 60s, right? That's going to be the next target. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but it looks like it wants to get up there. If it's pushing through the 0.86 like butter, it pushed for the arc up here, then you talk about like 140s, 150s next, which is just absolutely insane, or maybe 130, depends on where it hits, which is just absolutely insane. Like, there's no way for me to want to get in front of this trend. Kind of very, very similar to Palantir, actually. So, yeah, Shopify, I have a position. And Shopify looks great, but you know why it has a hard time pushing through? Well, it's getting rejected here, 0.618 here. It did get rejected here, bounced from the arc here, so I think it's just range bound because it's still having a hard time breaking through. And you have a tweezer top here, so it has to come back down and at least find some other support before going up, right? Well, you have the bonus support band slowly rising here. You have the Tenkan here as support too, right? So you're having a little bit of a range bound here. I think it's going to get stuck between 118 to $100 before breaking through. I don't know how far. I don't think it has to come back test the arc here. It could. If it does that, that would be a good opportunity to buy. But I just don't think it has to do that. If it does come back down here, by the time when it does come back down here, DigiMo costs are going to be, like right there, right? So would it have to do that before further bullish continuation? I don't know. All I know is that 0.618 is a hard level to break, and it's been trying to do that for about 3 months now. And because of that, I think eventually it's going to break through, but they might have to come back and grab some additional energy to push through. I would not buy here. I bought down here, so to me it doesn't really matter. All this just like nickels and dimes and change. I don't really care. But if you're looking into like starting a position, I'm just not sure whether or not this is like the best location for you to consider to want to do that right here, because it's at resistance, but it's still looking pretty strong here. CRSP, let's see what this is all about, right? Biotech, it's lagging. A lot of the biotech stocks are lagging. If you also look at the monthly, it's still underneath the 20-month moving average. It's still kind of hanging out down here. It's not really having any good volume shelf support. It's been stuck in range between 80s to 40s. It's probably a good company. I just don't know whether or not they're ready to run up biotech yet. It's still a big giant accumulation zone here. If you look at what I'm seeing here, maybe it's just a trend line here is just trying to do a back test. It's just extremely brutal. All these biotech stocks are just brutalized. So yeah, if you ask me whether or not it's just going to pump from here, I'm not going to be able to guarantee you that, because more or less it's just range bound. Looks like a Wyckoff kind of thing. Actually looks like a classic Wyckoff kind of thing, right? So maybe we need to find a spring. Maybe it needs to go down lower to grab more liquidity before bouncing up higher. Maybe we do need that spring here, but we're not really getting that right here is what I'm seeing, right? So looking at the volume too, like it's yeah, you got some pretty decent volume here. You have capitulation volume over here, so maybe a little bit further capitulation is needed. I don't know, maybe that was a capitulation volume over there. I don't know. All I know is that this is a range bound kind of thing, and we're at the lower end of the range. If you believe in this company, I think it's okay to get in here. It just understand it could go a lot lower, and there's no guarantee that this is bottom, because Wyckoff can turn out to be a lower low, you know. So and nobody knows how low it's going to get. So, but I do think that this is more of like a Wyckoff accumulation. This is probably going to look for a spring here. So yeah, something to think about if you're interested in biotech. TM is one of those that I'm just like completely baffled by, because it really did look like initially we were running against a negative sloping 20-week moving average, and it was going to probably get rejected here. But no, because Nancy Pelosi is involved, it just pushed through to the upper Bollinger Band here. Right now, it got rejected at a 0.86 and at the upper weekly Bollinger Band, right? So does it have enough energy to kind of push through higher? Maybe, because you have volume, because the Bollinger Band is expanding. I don't have a whole lot here on the monthly to show. All I can show is the weekly. You can potentially have further bullish continuation. If it's able to break through 0.86, then it can just keep on going up a lot higher over time, right? And you do have the volume here to support it, so I'm not going to bet against it. I just don't have enough history for me to, you know, say one way or another. And then finally, XYZ, which is Block. A lot of people are extremely jaded from it. All I have to say about Block is this. It's a bullish chart. It basically broke through this big giant inverted head and shoulder, and it's back testing this breakout zone here at a 0.382, right? There's no mystery that this thing is probably going to go higher, but the question is when, and the question is how frustrating it would be looking at everything else pump here in the same sector, like Affirm, like SoFi is already pumped, like Robin is pumping, right? How patient are you going to be with this stock here? Because once it runs, it can be really volatile to the upside, but it just simply hasn't really been able to do that, right? Looking at a 2-week chart here, I think it illustrates this perfectly at the Ichimoku. You have basically resistance here, but I think maybe another month before it breaks above the Ichimoku cloud before it goes up. I think once it's ready to go, it can go up to 120, 130 here in a hurry, because if you look at the monthly here, like I think once it breaks through, once it's done forming this bull flag, it's probably going to shoot up here to the Ichimoku, right? Between the 0.10 and 618 here, it's going to be around 120s. That's probably going to be where the target's going to be. And it's probably going to happen in a hurry. It's probably going to make like 50% gain in like a quarter or something like that. And everybody's be like, why didn't I buy? Why didn't I buy? Well, you didn't buy it because you know it was a very, very frustrating stock to hold, and people don't really talk about it much because they're probably embarrassed to hold, because they are missing out on other things if they're not holding this, and there's like whatever you call opportunity calls, whatever. That's not really investing. But anyway, yeah, I'm done talking about it. All these charts over here are pretty bullish. I think the top 10, I'd say at least like 5, 6, 7 of them are looking very, very bullish. The rest of them are getting, you know, close to resistance levels here and there. So just consider, you know, maybe be a little bit more cautious. But honestly, how cautious can you be? It's a bull trend. Higher highs, higher lows. It's just the fact that ARK is about to run into a pretty important resistance zone over here at the Ichimoku cloud. So be a little bit careful if you see volatility. If you want to take profits over here, if you already bought down anything, want to take profit over here is reasonable, right? Not financial advice, of course. But I expect volatility coming for ARK stock here. But again, if it just pushes through like butter, that also tells you something, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to hold Tesla. I'm going to hold Palantir. I'm going to hold Shopify. I'm going to hold Coinbase. I'm going to hold CoinL, which is a 2x version of Coinbase. I'm going to keep holding Robinhood as well, and I'm going to do nothing. That's what I'm going to do. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one. Bye.